Hey dreamers, and welcome back to Conan's Dreamlight Magic. Today, we're diving into the entire Disney animated canon list. Why? Because if you want to predict what might be coming to Disney Dreamlight Valley, this is where to start looking. We'll break down the canon decade by decade, talk about which films are most likely to appear, and more. So, let's jump into it, shall we? The earliest decades of Disney animation gave us a foundation of classics, starting with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and moving through Pinocchio, Fantasia, Dumbo, Bambi, Saludos Amigos, The Three Caballeros, Make Mine Music, Fun and Fancy Free, Melody Time, and The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. These films set the stage for everything that followed. While some of these package films may be less likely to get full realms, they still offer characters, critters, and even biome inspirations that could absolutely find their way into Dreamlight Valley. Snow White is already confirmed for Wish Blossom Ranch, but the dwarfs could eventually follow her into the valley. They'd fit perfectly as either villagers or unique quest givers. Pinocchio feels inevitable at some point, with Jiminy Cricket or Geppetto's Workshop making a fantastic realm. Fantasia has endless options, from Sorcerer Mickey as a dream style to Chernabog. Dumbo could be another critter style addition, maybe as a companion or even through a circus inspired biome. Bambi could bring woodland critters like Thumper or Flower, which ties in perfectly with the game's critter collecting system. And while films like Saludos Amigos and The Three Caballeros may not be first picks, Donald is already in game, so expanding with Jose or Panchito isn't out of the question. But maybe the most unique opportunity from this era is the adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. While Mr. Toad would work as a quirky villager, the Headless Horseman would be something truly special. He'd bring a darker, spookier vibe to the valley, much like Jack Skellington or Maleficent already do. Imagine seasonal quests during Halloween where he rides through the valley, or even having his horse as a mountable companion. He's one of those legacy Disney villains who hasn't appeared in many games, so Dreamlight Valley could give him a brand new spotlight. The 1950s were another golden age for Disney animation, giving us some of the most iconic films of all time. Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, and Sleeping Beauty. Each of these movies have left a major cultural footprint, and many of them already have a presence in Dreamlight Valley. We know Cinderella herself is coming to the game this winter, joining the fairy godmother who's already in the valley. The Alice in Wonderland lineup is already strong too, with Alice and the Cheshire Cat both present, but it's easy to imagine additions like the Queen of Hearts, the Mad Hatter, or even White Rabbit down the line. Peter Pan is covered as well, with Peter in the game, though Captain Hook and Tinkerbell are the two obvious missing faces. And we know Tinkerbell is arriving with Wish Blossom Ranch. Where things get interesting is with Lady and the Tramping Sleeping Beauty. Currently, we only have Lady and the Tramp furniture in the game, with no characters confirmed. It feels like a missed opportunity, especially since their romantic dinner is one of the most famous scenes in Disney history. Adding Lady, Tramp, or even side characters like Jock or Trusty would bring a whole new level of charm. On the other side, Sleeping Beauty is starting to grow with Aurora and Maleficent both arriving in Storybook Vale. That still leaves characters like Prince Philip, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather as possible future expansions. The 1950s films are some of the strongest in Disney's canon, and since Gameloft has already started pulling heavily from this era, I think it's only a matter of time before we see Lady and the Tramp themselves walking through the valley alongside Cinderella. The 1960s and 1970s gave us a strong mix of beloved family favourites and cult classics. In the 60s, we got 101 Dalmatians, The Sword and the Stone, and The Jungle Book. Moving into the 70s, Disney gave us The Aristocats, Robin Hood, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and The Rescuers. 101 Dalmatians is already represented, but only in a limited way. We have Lucky as a companion, and Cruella de Vil was a popular early request for a villain. It's not hard to imagine her strutting into the valley, maybe with a questline centered on fashion, or fittingly, troublemaking. Adding Pongo, Perdita, or even a group of Dalmatian puppies could bring extra cuteness to the valley's critter system too. The Sword and the Stone is represented through Merlin, who has been in the base game from the very start, but there's still a ton of potential here. Arthur, Archimedes, or even Madame Mim could all be added to expand the magical cast. Madam Mim would especially be a fun villain to play off Merlin's wisdom. For the Jungle Book, we've seen nothing yet, but feels like a natural fit. Baloo, Bagheera, Mowgli, or even King Louie could offer amazing quest lines. Since animals as characters are a big part of Disney, this film's roster could slip into the game seamlessly. Moving into the 70s, the Aristocats have been teased through motifs, but no characters. Duchess, O'Malley, or the Kittens could add a lot of Parisian flair to the valley. Meanwhile, Robin Hood has become one of the most fan-requested franchises, especially with how popular Robin and Maid Marian are. A Robin Hood realm would be an instant hit. We do know Winnie the Pooh is a strong contender, with rumour and player demands circling constantly. Pooh, Tigger, Piglet and Eeyore would bring pure cozy vibes to the valley. Finally, The Rescuers is one of Disney's most underrated films, but Bernard and Bianca could work well if Gameloft wanted to dig deeper into the canon. They'd even fit thematically if a swamp or marsh biome was ever added. The 60s and 70s might not have as many characters confirmed yet, but they're full of possibilities, from Cruella causing chaos to Robin Hood stealing the spotlight. The 1980s were a transitional era for Disney, moving from darker experimental stories to films that would spark the Disney Renaissance. We got The Fox and the Hound, The Black Cauldron, The Great Mouse Detective, Oliver and Company, and finally, the huge hit that closed the decade, The Little Mermaid. Let's start with The Fox and the Hound. While Todd and Copper aren't currently in game, their strong friendship and tension would make for some great quest lines. They could also introduce more woodland-themed critters or decorations to the valley. Then, we have The Black Cauldron, one of Disney's darkest and most overlooked films, which actually makes it a perfect candidate for Dreamlight Valley. The Horned King would be an incredible villain to face off against. His skeletal army could easily tie into a darker realm story, similar to how Maleficent and Hades were introduced in Storybook Vale. Fans have been asking for more villains, and he's about as iconic and underused as they come. The Great Mouse Detective is another underrated gem. Basil, Dawson, or Ratigan could bring in detective-themed questlines. Having Ratigan as a villain would also balance nicely with more light-hearted characters elsewhere in the valley. Oliver and Company is practically begging for inclusion, especially since the valley already features characters like Nana and Lucky as companions. Oliver, Dodger, or even the villain Sykes could fit naturally into a city expansion vibe. Finally, The Little Mermaid. This one is already represented in Dreamlight Valley. Ariel, Prince Eric, and Ursula are all present, and Max is available as a companion, but right now there's no true underwater biome. Ariel's storyline works around this by letting her switch between mermaid and human forms. If Gameloft ever expands the world with new biomes, Atlantica could be an obvious choice. Still, adding characters like Sebastian, Flounder, or even King Triton would deepen the representation of this fan-favourite franchise. The 1980s may be remembered as a mixed era, but for Dreamlight Valley, it's full of untapped potential. A fan-favourite villain in The Horned King, underrated films like The Great Mouse Detective, and more expansion for beloved classics like The Little Mermaid. The 1990s were a huge decade for Disney, often referred to as the Disney Renaissance, producing some of the most beloved animated films of all time. This era includes The Rescuers Down Under, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Lion King, Pocahontas, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules, Mulan, and Tarzan. A lot of these films are already strongly represented in Dreamlight Valley. From Beauty and the Beast, we have Belle, Beast, Gaston, and the Footstool Dog as a companion, with Cogsworth and Lumiere coming soon in the next realm revisit. Aladdin has Aladdin, Jasmine, Jafar, and the Magic Carpet as a companion. The Lion King features Simba, Nala, Scar, Timon, and Pumbaa, while Mulan brings both Mulan and Mushu into the valley. Hades has been integrated through Storybook Vale, and a baby Pegasus companion represents Hercules' world and apart. However, some films remain underrepresented. Pocahontas is still missing as a character, and feels like a must for a future DLC. Hercules is also missing key characters. Hercules himself and Meg would make for a fantastic realm, and having a fully fleshed out Mount Olympus realm would be epic. Other notable gaps include The Hunchback of Notre Dame, The Rescuers Down Under, and Tarzan. For Tarzan, licensing rights may be a factor. The film's music rights and character depiction issues have historically made it tricky for inclusions in games. That said, Tarzan's lush jungle world and animal companions could easily fit in Dreamlight Valley's gameplay style if these rights were navigated. The Rescuers Down Under could bring in Bernard and Bianca like we mentioned previously, while The Hunchback of Notre Dame could provide Quasimodo, Esmeralda, and the villainous Frollo, adding more depth and diversity to the Valley's character lineup. The 90s truly shaped Disney, and while Dreamlight Valley has integrated much of this decade, there's still so much untapped potential for characters, realms, and companions, making it one of the most exciting eras for future updates. The 2000s brought a diverse mix of Disney films, from traditional animation to CGI hits. Some of the most notable titles include Fantasia 2000, Dinosaur, The Emperor's New Groove, Atlantis: The Lost Empire, Lilo and Stitch, Treasure Planet, Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little, Meet the Robinsons, Bolt, and The Princess and the Frog. Currently, only Stitch and Tiana are fully integrated as villagers. The Emperor's New Groove has some representation in the premium shop items, and Atlantis: The Lost Empire is hinted at through clothes and Ancient's Landing from Eternity Isle, which gives off strong Atlantis vibes. Keita and Milo are likely candidates to eventually join the Valley. Chicken Little and Dinosaur are unlikely to get full characters due to their niche popularity, but the lemurs from Dinosaur as companions would be a fun and quirky addition. Treasure Planet, Bolt, and Brother Bear could also bring unique companions and critters to the Valley. For example, Jim Hawkins' robotic friend Ben, or Bolt as a sidekick could integrate nicely. Overall, the 2000s have a mix of fully integrated fan favourites and underrepresented films. There's a lot of potential for Gameloft to expand the Valley's roster with adventure-heavy and animal-themed characters, while also adding unique themed resources, furniture, and clothing that fit these diverse worlds. The 2010s were a huge era for Disney, with both modern animated classics and franchise hits making their debut. Key films from this decade include Tangled, Winnie the Pooh, Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, Moana, Ralph Breaks the Internet, and Frozen 2. For Tangled, a good portion of the cast is already in Dreamlight Valley. Rapunzel is in Eternity Isle, Flynn Rider appears in Storybook Vale, and Mother Gothel is in the base game. Maximus is set to join in Wish Blossom Ranch, giving players the full horse-riding companion experience tied to this franchise. Wreck-It Ralph is partially represented with Vanellope already in-game. Ralph himself is expected to come eventually, as he appeared in the game trailer, likely a 2026 edition. This gives plenty of room for Sugar Rush-themed quests and arcade-style activities. Frozen is well represented with Elsa, Anna, Kristoff and Olaf, while Moana has Moana and Maui, alongside companions Pua and Heihei. These characters fit naturally with existing friendship quest systems and resource collection mechanics. However, some key characters from this decade are still missing. Big Hero 6 needs Baymax, who would both work perfect as a villager and for dynamic questline interactions, potentially linking to Hero in the future. Zootopia could bring new animal companions and a city-themed biome, while Ralph Breaks the Internet offers opportunities for modern medical-inspired quests. Overall, the 2010s have a mix of characters already integrated and exciting additions still waiting to be added, making this decade one of the most promising for future Dreamlight Valley updates. Finally, the 2020s have already brought a wave of Disney hits and continue to expand the possibilities for Dreamlight Valley. Films include Raya and the Last Dragon, Encanto, Strange World, Wish, Moana 2, and soon, Zootopia 2, Hexed, and Frozen 3. Currently Mirabel represents Encanto in the Valley, but fans would love to see Isabella and Luisa join as well, completing the Madrigal family experience and opening up unique family-based quests. Raya and the Last Dragon could bring Raya herself, or Asha from Wish as new characters, possibly accompanied by Sisu as a dynamic companion. Strange World and Wish are exciting because they introduce entirely new storylines of potential companions. Hexed, being just revealed, could be a mysterious new addition, potentially bringing unique magic-based gameplay mechanics. Finally, Frozen 3 remains a complete mystery, but any characters introduced could expand Arendelle even further, potentially adding new companions, critters, and dream styles for existing characters. This decade offers Dreamlight Valley the opportunity to explore new worlds, including highly requested characters, and introduce fresh mechanics while continuing the charm and variety of the game. And that's it, Dreamers. This is my complete look at the animated Disney Canon list, and the films you should keep an eye on for potential future updates in Dreamlight Valley. From the classics of the 1930s to the latest hits of the 2020s, there's so much untapped potential for characters, companions, realms, and biomes. If this video gets enough love, I'll be doing a follow-up covering live action films, park properties, and Disney TV shows that could also make their way into the valley. There are so many incredible stories and worlds left to explore, and I can't wait to theorise and dream about them with you all. If you did like this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below about your thoughts, and I'll see you in the valley. See ya!